Welcome to the Jon Myer Podcast, powered by Myer Media, where we bring you thought leadership and conversations from around the world. Today, we're diving into the critical world of secure communications, data sovereignty, and mission-critical collaboration systems. Joining us today is Bruno and Chris at Rocket.Chat, where they're leading efforts to bring secure, flexible collaboration solutions to some of the world's most demanding environments, from federal agencies to emergency response teams. Please join me in welcoming Bruno and Chris to the show.
Thank you, John. We're happy to be here today. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to telling you a little bit about Rocket.Chat. So what is Rocket.Chat? Who are we? Rocket.Chat is the world's most widely deployed open source team collaboration platform. We deliver secure voice, messaging, video, and AI capabilities to our customers who generally operate within, as you mentioned, very secure spaces, defense, intelligence, critical infrastructure, other government agencies.
Chris, what about data sovereignty? We've talked about that. It's a big one out there, a critical concern for many organizations today. How does Rocket.Chat ensure data sovereignty for its customers, and why is it becoming such a pivotal requirement in collaboration space?
Yeah, sovereignty absolutely is a key theme for us. As mentioned, we are fully open source. That's part one in terms of sovereignty. Any of our customers can evaluate, audit our code base to the bottom. It's a key part of sovereignty, self-determination. If anything happened to Rocket.Chat, that organization has access to the code base. They can continue to operate. They don't have an outside dependency. Secondly, as I mentioned, we are the world's most widely deployed open source platform. And what that means in practice is many of our customers deploy on premises, on their own hardware, or within their own AWS space that they fully control. Very important. Again, when we hear sovereignty, what we generally think of is self-determination, self-control of the customer's operations without outside dependencies.
How does data sovereignty affect or even evaluate countries like EU, though?
So first of all, thank you for hosting us as well. And this is super important. Like in EU, we have compliance regulations like GDPR, and Rocket.Chat is super flexible in terms of like how you can control that. The clients can have like a very flexible ways to control that over the platform. They have granular permissions in terms of how they can do that. So we have like self-hosted capabilities. So you can host that on your AWS environment, but you can manage that on your AWS on our own AWS environment. For example, within the upcoming European sovereign cloud, which we're about to be hosted there as well. So this is one of the key things that is super important for European customers, like to be hosted within the boundaries of the European Union and to comply with the local regulations like GDPR.
One of the biggest things for government agencies, federal agencies, and even if you look at data sovereignty like EU, I think there might be a huge value in you being open source because there's nothing that they can look at everything. They can inspect everything to see where it's at and what it's doing. Do you find that it's easily adopted being that you're open source?
It is. And as you point out, in certain countries, it's a starting requirement. It's foundational. We also see around the world, for example, the U.S. defense and intelligence apparatus, that there is that need to be able to audit the code to the bottom. We actually go a little bit beyond open source. Not only are we open source in terms of our core, but for commercial premium capabilities that we offer, even though those capabilities require a license to operate and to make functional, we also provide that code as source available. It's a key requirement across Europe, across North America, and other markets.
Bruno, you mentioned that Rocket.Chat could be self-hosted or within the cloud. One of the things that you always take into consideration or look at is you have self-hosted, and there might be some trade-offs or limitations versus a cloud, or one or the other? Are there any, and how do you evaluate some of these?
And when I said self-hosted, it was like self-hosted, meaning like either coming from on-premise air gap or going to your a managed environment on our own like SaaS cloud environment. But definitely there are trade-offs on that. But now with all the options that we have available with like hyperscalers like AWS, which is one of our strongest partners, we definitely have options for customers worldwide, even here in the US or in Europe, with secure cloud options. And then the clients need to evaluate and assess how much they're in terms of trade-off they're giving up in terms of like security and the security that they have available on those secure clouds. But that's the beauty and the benefit with Rocket.Chat. We give the ability for them to go from the super secure on-prem air gap to a SaaS commercial cloud or secure cloud options that we have here, for example, here in the US, within the secret and top secret regions, or within the European sovereign cloud.
In the last couple of years, collaboration tools have become kind of a nice to have, but a necessity, a requirement. And secure communication, reliability, resilience to failure, that's happening where we actually tend to not tolerate it. We used to be like, okay, video went down, but I still have audio. At this point in time now, everybody is like, there should be no glitches. Everything should work smoothly and be secure. How are you building, or how's Rocket.Chat been built to withstand some of this and be resilient against failure?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that theme is everywhere across our customer base. What we see is a lot of cases where we need to make sure to play nicely in the sandbox with other tools. You may have an organization that is operating on a cloud collaboration tool, but they need to have an out-of-band capability in the case of a particular disaster, in the case of key conversations or collaborations that are at a higher security level. So Rocket.Chat is able to operate in conjunction with those platforms. It's an important part of what we do for our customers. More and more, as I mentioned, we don't see it as binary, where you're going fully on-prem or a cloud solution, or fully self-managed or a cloud solution. In most cases, we see a blend of both, which is an important part of what we do.
Chris, you were talking about how Rocket.Chat is built on open source principles. How does your community contribute to the actual core product? And what role does the feedback loop play in your product development?
Yeah, open source is really the core, not just of our code base, but of how we operate. We have a large and growing community where on a daily basis, we're getting feedback, we're getting code commits from our community that we review. We pay a lot of attention to those. We look for opportunities to incorporate those code contributions into our platform. Not everything can be. We go through very stringent security reviews, of course, but it's a great force multiplier for us and for our customers.
Let's talk about some of the customizations. Can you describe the process of building and deploying a custom app or even an integration using Apps Engine? And what possibilities does this open up?
Yeah. So I'll touch on that, Bruno, and then you'll probably have a few thoughts to add on the customer side. So Apps Engine, first of all, for those who might not be familiar with what it is our toolkit that we provide, shipped with Rocket.Chat. So you deploy, you have access to Apps Engine, and your developers can use it to build fully encapsulated extensions to Rocket.Chat that adapt the behavior, extend the behavior, integrate Rocket.Chat with other platforms. What we see currently is when we talk about security, when we talk about sovereignty, that doesn't mean putting your collaboration suite on an island. It doesn't mean isolation. And so using Apps Engine, our customers are able to connect Rocket.Chat to their other critical systems. Within, for example, the defense and intelligence space, oftentimes what we see is apps that are developed that ensure that information that's critical for a particular mission, particular team is posted into Rocket.Chat and available for the team to use.
Bruno, anything on that?
Yeah, definitely. For example, we have a Jira integration that is something that was developed by our team. But definitely there was something that a European agency, EU LISA, that is our customer, a very critical agency for the European Union. They developed further that integration. And they use that for their DevOps team. And that is super important for their day-to-day operations within that DevOps team, because they can communicate all the testing of their software. And Ulisa is critical for all the like IT. They call themselves the digital heart of the Schengen area. And so all the software that is developed and like all the digital tools that are developed for the European Union these days are developed within that agency. And all the testing of this software now goes through Jira, which is like the communication tool that they use within all the developers is Rocket.Chat. And that integration that they use with Jira was built using our apps engine.
We're talking about security and let's say a mission that's happening and the critical communication between that. How is it taken into consideration where that mission communication might need to leave, just to say the US, for something that's happening outside the continent, but still stay secure, but only that information though?
Yeah, terrific question. A couple things come into play for us. The first is federation across workspaces. So one of the things that we've invested a lot in is Rocket.Chat supports native matrix protocol federation. What that means is you can have fully independent, controlled workspaces that are deployed separately that can be federated to enable certain conversations to be connected across those workspaces. So, for example, let's say you have the US operation and a NATO operation. They're collaborating on one specific topic. They each have their own distinct secure workspaces. They set up certain channels as federated, and the users can communicate across those channels. Very important part of our overall strategy. The second part, when we think about security, security is a constant, continuous evaluation in a zero trust world. So one of the things that we focus on is how do we make sure that we have that continuous reauthorization. That when we think about federated workspaces or a workspace on its own, is ensuring that any user who has access to a particular conversation has been evaluated at that moment in time. So it could be for geofencing purposes, it could be the device disposition at any moment. We're constantly reevaluating. Those two things put together enable two independent missions to federate workspaces, but also know that in that pipe that's been opened up between them, that they have those continuous authorization capabilities in play on both sides.
Always on continuous security evaluation. And so you guys focus heavily on mission critical sectors, and we're talking about a couple of them now, but also US federal government, critical infrastructure, even healthcare, which we haven't even touched on yet. How does Rocket.Chat address these specific communication challenges in areas like command and control or even emergency readiness collaboration tools that simply can't handle?
This a key starting point. What we kind of think of as an entry fee in this business. We put a lot of effort into being Iron Bank compliant. Iron Bank is a container repository that is operated by Department of Defense that ensures that any of the underlying dependencies used by a particular platform have also been registered with Iron Bank. So it's not just our security. Any of the libraries that we use are also certified. That's foundational for us. That's one of the key things. But you were referring to a couple of cases such as first responders and critical infrastructure. One of the requirements for that sort of use case isn't just sitting at your laptop, at your desktop in, let's say, a secure SCIF. In a lot of cases, you have people out in the field. So Rocket.Chat also offers mobile applications that can be either used as is by a customer or adapted, because once again, they're fully MIT open source license. We see that as a critical differentiator for us within operations that tend to have field personnel.
Bruno, we've been talking a little bit more about obviously federal agencies, governments, but we haven't touched on healthcare. How is Rocket.Chat utilized within healthcare?
There are very interesting cases worldwide. Like there's one in Spain, one of the largest healthcare providers there. They embedded our solution within their mobile application that communicates between the patient and the physicians. And this is one of the major use cases that we have, where they're embedding the engine of Rocket.Chat, where they're using Rocket.Chat engine application to like pull the like a message component and some of the components of the Rocket.Chat application in ways that no other platform can do. And this is one of the largest healthcare providers in Spain, and they are doing that already for many years.
That brings up an interesting kind of point that comes into play a lot in healthcare. We're dealing with specialists in many situations, whether it's healthcare or financials or defense. And one of the needs that we see from those organizations is the need to not have to retrain personnel. And so Rocket.Chat can be fully embedded within other systems. So you can take whatever room you want and embed it within an existing web or mobile app. What that does, and what they talk about in the healthcare space, is a single pane of glass, right? That doctor, that practitioner doesn't have to learn new navigation. You're using the system that they're familiar with. Rocket.Chat conversations are embedded wherever they need them to be.
Most of the time, they want them to focus on the patient rather than the process, and other something that they as easy as possible. Because when you go into, let's talk about a typical doctor meeting, you're going into, they're trying to take notes, but also listen to you, and they've got 20 other patients. If they have to figure out a new solution, it usually has a lot of friction, which actually goes to my next question. What does a typical installation look like, and how long before a company can get up and running before utilizing Rocket.Chat?
And just before going there, like on the healthcare space, it's for the very same reason um, eh, the security requirements are and the compliance requirements, like HIPAA here in the US or GDPR there in Europe, or LGPD in Latin America and Brazil, in many other countries. Like that's one of the main reasons they're going for a platform like that, because they have all the assurance that a platform like Rocket.Chat will give will meet all the necessary requirements for that.
Yeah, and to touch on the question about deployment and time to value, the short answer is very quickly. The slightly longer answer is we are very flexible on our deployment paths. That's intentional. That's been core to our growth. So organizations can install on their own hardware, their own air-gapped SCIF that they may be operating within, or more and more, what we're seeing is organizations are opting for cloud hyperscaler type of installations. As for example, AWS has introduced ICMP for the intelligence community in the US. Now the European Sovereign Cloud launching at the end of this year. Some of the organizations that previously had deployed on their own hardware will deploy on AWS as an alternative. That's seen as highly secure alternative spaces that lower the costs of ownership. What we find, because of the fact that we run so many workspaces on behalf of clients on AWS, that certainly accelerates the time to value.
Bruno, Rocket.Chat has achieved some impressive milestones in the AWS ecosystem recently, earning the digital workspace competency and scaling in the AWS marketplace. How have these achievements impacted your go-to-market strategy and your customer acquisition?
This is critical for us within the AWS ecosystem. This is a very complex partner ecosystem, and every one of these programs get us further. And The digital workplace will take us to the next one, which is the government one. And also now Chris just mentioned, for example, the ICMP, the European Sovereign Cloud. This unlocks us different paths in terms of go-to-market strategies. One, for example, within the North American market, the other one within the European market, and that will help us to support the go-to-market strategy within those two major markets, like the European market and North American market. Those like badges, like those accreditations that they will help us within with the customers there, with the partner ecosystem there, because we also work with the other AWS partners there and with the AWS sales teams there.
My last question isn't really totally a question, but a congratulations. You being named the LATAM's Rising Star Partner of the Year. Now, what does this recognition mean for Rocket.Chat's growth trajectory, and how are you leveraging the AWS partnership to expand to new markets and verticals?
I'll take that one, as I've been very much involved on that. We just started within this AWS journey, and it's just like maybe recognizing the start of this journey, and definitely it's just the beginning. Definitely, we're going into other markets where I just mentioned, like the European market and the North American market. We're unlocking now the ICMP, the European Sovereign Cloud, and all these other programs like Box program in the UK, Box program in the US. And definitely for us, we're very proud and humble as well with this award. But this is just the beginning for us.
As Bruno was saying before, he referred to badges, but the badges and awards, they're much more than that. What they're doing is they're raising awareness for our customer base in terms of additional deployment options that we can bring to the table. They reduce total cost of ownership. They can improve resiliency and operational capabilities. So while we're thrilled to have those, to make those milestones, it really is about additional exposure that helps our customers to understand the different options that are available.
Guys, finally, congratulations on being named LATAM's Rising Star Partner of the Year. This is a huge accomplishment, as very few have done it. So it's really congratulations on it. What does this recognition mean for Rocket.Chat's growth trajectory? And how are you leveraging the AWS partnership to expand into new markets and verticals?
Thank you very much, first of all. This is just the beginning for us. Like, of course, we're very honored and proud of receiving that award. But more than anything, these awards and like maybe other ones in the future is just a way to show that we're a trustworthy partner. And we're now getting to European Sovereign Cloud, to ICMP, and this is just a way for us to pave our path to other markets as well. And that's a way for us to show to the whole partner ecosystem that Rocket.Chat is a very secure collaboration solution, and that is one of the many ways that is showing the achievements that we've been having worldwide.
Yeah, these type of awards and milestones, they're important, and we're thrilled to receive them. But more importantly, they drive and accelerate the education of our customers. And working with AWS, AWS has been able to show our customers different paths to value, different ways to reduce total cost of ownership, and alternatives to on-premises work that they're doing that does not sacrifice security and other key considerations that they have.
Chris, Bruno, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning into the Jon Myer Podcast powered by Myer Media. If today's conversation about data sovereignty, secure communications, and building resilient collaboration infrastructure resonates with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe to stay updated on future episodes and share this with your IT, security, and operations teams who are navigating the complex landscape of mission-critical communications. Until next time, keep building securely and stay ahead of the curve.